Ollie. So I'm glad to have you guys all here for this. David's question for this. We're going to get right into it. Must see baseball museums to visit in the off season or any time. I'm going to let the youngest guy go first. David, your must see baseball museum to visit anytime or even during the off season.
I would have to say the Negro Leagues.
And I can understand why there's such a historical aspect to it. Like, I would love to see personally, because I know they say Josh Gibson was the Black Babe Ruth. I would love to see what the statue of him looks like, because he passed away right around the time I think Babe Ruth did. He passed away a long time ago, but the difference is Babe Ruth did it on hot dogs and beer and everything else and made himself so sick. But Josh Gibson was built like Hack Wilson was, except Hack Wilson was only 5'7", and he had 58 home runs, and he still got the modern day record for most RBIs in the season at 191. No one's going to touch that. Josh, favorite museum baseball wise you'd like to visit in the off season or any time?
I would say, because I've never been, it's always been a kind of a bucket list thing, is the Hall of Fame and the Negro League Museum, both of them.
And that's just it. Now that they instituted baseball stats to include the Negro Leagues, I think that's fair. I know there's a lot of judgment about that. It's like, oh, they didn't play against white ball players. Yes, they did. And a lot of the white players said they were better. Bob Feller was a big fan of those guys, too. That was it. Bob Feller was rumored to throw a 104-mile-an-hour fastball, but he's facing guys like Cool Papa Bell and Oscar Charleston and guys like that. You don't face those guys every day, but you face them on these barnstorming trips, forget about it.
Well, and just to add to that real quick, I really want to see the section about women in baseball during the war, because that was a big thing when A League of Their Own came out, and I did a lot of research after that movie came out.
I give them a lot of credit, because they did a lot for baseball when most of the men were off fighting at war. They decided to hike up the bootstraps and go, instead of staying home, they decided to go play baseball. And a lot of those injuries were very brutal, and they had all those bruises and everything else. It's rather insane to see how much they put their bodies through to entertain. Especially if you watch the movie A League of Their Own, all those injuries were real. They didn't have stunt doubles.
No, they did it themselves. I mean, it's amazing. When I did my research on it after I saw the movie, I'm like, I've got to see that part of the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and that's a big one. Kurt, your favorite museum or must-see museum to visit in the off-season or any time?
Well, of course, the Baseball Hall of Fame. I have not been there in ages. I went a couple times back in the 80s, and I somehow managed to bring my wife there, even though she was my girlfriend at the time. I didn't tell her. I said, let's go to Cooperstown for the weekend, without telling her that that's where the Baseball Hall of Fame was located. So she hasn't fallen for that again, unfortunately. There are two other ones that I've really enjoyed that I've been to. In the last couple of years, we went to the Louisville Bat Museum, which I do recommend if you get a chance. And I've got some. They give you souvenir bats, not regular size, but like these, a decent sized bat, because there are certain. The wood for the bats has to be a certain grade in order to be usable. And if they discover it's not usable, hey, that's when they make the souvenir bats out of. Also, if you're in Baltimore, the Babe Ruth Museum, which is half Babe Ruth, half Baltimore, is really worthwhile.
I was there.
The one bat, not Babe Ruth's, but there's a guy by the name of Ed Roush. Mm-hmm. He wasn't a real big guy. He had the second heaviest bat out of any player ever. Babe Ruth had the heaviest bat at 54 ounces at one point. So I don't know how that doesn't establish him as one of his really great hitters, but Ed Roush was another one. He swung a 48-ounce bat. That's 3 pounds. I know that doesn't seem like much, but that's a lot of weight for certain people. Look at that. Now that's cool.
That's
That
very
is cool. But
That's very cool.
I can't imagine how much they go through. I don't think they recycle the wood, but especially a good, decent bat, I can't imagine they don't get like splinters and everything else, because I've seen how they make the bats and everything else, and having it be cord and everything, they use flame on it sometimes. It's just incredible what they put it through. So
They smooth it down within an inch of its a bat within an inch of its life. So it's really a lot of work that you go through just to get it to the point where it's usable. And bats are made. Some bats, at least when you become a certain name player, you get your bat specifically made to your specifications. So it's got to go through some work. They do a really good job checking it there.
My number one thing is,
I should point that out specifically.
I was a guy when I played, I never liked wearing batting gloves.
Mm-hmm.
Not quite Moist Salou standard. I wouldn't go Moist Salou. That's a step too far. But I liked not wearing batting gloves, but I got splinters all across my upper palm because I liked the feeling of actually being able to grip a baseball bat. That was my favorite part, because being able to actually grip the bat, not have that, because I see all these guys with pine tar like stick them. That's a completely different story, but still, you want to feel like you actually are holding on to the baseball bat. Jesse, must-see baseball museums to visit anytime or in the off season for you.
For me, it would be the Jackie Robinson Museum. That guy was great at baseball. But
That's
yeah,
good.
yeah. And then maybe the Shoeless Joe Jackson one.
I'm learning more and more about these baseball museums, and it's blowing my mind just how many there are.
Yeah.
Babe Ruth, Jackie Robinson, Shoeless Joe Jackson, and finding out all of these, because there's things that I wish they'd have in other museums that they have, like basketball, football, baseball, stuff like that. The one thing that I think of the most right about now is J.R. Richard when he pitched for the Astros, or Johnny Bench when he had these big old hands, Johnny Bench, and they had a commercial about him. He had this big old catching mitt, and then he used to be able to hold 6 baseballs, but then they had this Blue Emu ad, and I laughed because it was this. He's just like, hey, you're Johnny Bench. You used to be able to hold 6 baseballs, right? And he's like, I don't do that anymore. He brings his hands up and he's holding 6 cheeseburgers. So
Who's the best catcher of all time, Johnny Bench or Josh Gibson?
Johnny Bench is the best at 2 things: leadership and the catching position in general. He had 389 career home runs. I think if he doesn't retire at the age of 35, he has Mike Piazza beat forever. Piazza had 427, but Bench was the quintessential part. And I'm not even 30 yet. I don't know as much as certain people do about catching, but Johnny Bench had leadership. He had the ability to be as good as he was, and he led multiple trips to the World Series. As a young man coming up and everything when he was 19, he played 17 years, but he had so many knee injuries and everything else. Johnny Bench is my best guy because just outright. But that's up for debate. Johnny, your must-see baseball museum to visit.
Well, I actually have 3 besides the Cooperstown. Although 2 of them are out of country, though. One of them is the Seattle Mariners Northwest Baseball Hall of Fame. That, believe it or not, the Pacific Northwest has a rich history of baseball dating back to 1877, so that's very much worth seeing. My second one is the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame, located about a 2-hour and change drive from Toronto in St. Mary's, Ontario, Canada. And Canada has a very rich baseball heritage as well, too, and for those people who love Canada like myself, it's very much worth seeing. And the third one, I have to go all the way across the Pacific to the Japanese Baseball Hall of Fame, located at the Tokyo Dome in the Bunkyo ward of Tokyo.
I like that. I like that very much because the Baseball Hall of Fame has a lot, but it doesn't have what those other museums have. It has what's considered in America, here in the U.S., but it doesn't have the aspects that the Canadian Hall of Fame has or the Japanese Hall of Fame. Because Japan, it's a whole different definition of talent. Because Ichiro comes here after so many years in Japan where it's different. And then he just dominates. Hideo Nomu dominates. Hideki Matsui at 30, pretty much in his late 20s, comes and has a 12, 13, 14-year career. I can't imagine what it would have been like because I've studied a little bit about Japanese baseball.
He was the Japanese. He broke the Japanese barrier for baseball, major leagues.
No.
Oh no.
1962. You are incorrect, sir. 1962, a pitcher for the then San Francisco Giants. I think his last name was Kawakami. But he pitched for 2 seasons, but then they forced him to go back because he signed. Go ahead, Johnny.
I want to correct you guys. His name was Masanori Murakami, and he played for the then Nankai Hawks, which are now the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks. He came from there, and he played 2 seasons with the Giants. However, even with his abrupt departure from the Giants, that wasn't the end of his career as a whole. He would continue to pitch until 1982.
See, there you go. He never stopped playing baseball, though, but that kind of killed baseball for Japanese baseball players for 33 years until Hideo Nomu comes over in 1995. So there's a lot to still learn about baseball from Canada, from Japan, and I'm sure in the future there will be a Taiwanese baseball museum and a Korean baseball museum because there's only ever been, I know I'll get to Brandon in a second, but there's only been one, I think, in history. I could be wrong, but there's only been one Vietnamese-born baseball player ever. He played for the Indians at the end of his career, and he played for the Reds. His name was Danny Graves, war number 32. I think he's the only Vietnamese-born player to ever play in the major leagues. I think they should. I don't know what the talent pool is, but I think there should be more. I think it's a talent pool they haven't looked into in a while, and I think there should be more. Brandon, must-see baseball museums to visit.
I'm going to go with all of you. I have 2 of them. The first one is definitely the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. I was there last year when I was in Kansas City. It truly is as good as everybody says it is. Just everywhere you walk, just up and down, just memorabilia everywhere, so much history, so much stuff to learn. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see President Bob Kendrick the day that I was there, but I definitely hope to see him whenever I go back there again. My next one, though, I'm kind of surprised none of you mentioned this one, but the Roberto Clemente Museum in Pittsburgh.
Yes.
I was there this year when I went to Pittsburgh with my best friend, and that, too, a fantastic museum. And any team that comes on the road and plays in PNC Park in Pittsburgh, they always make sure to visit. And there is a specific room in the museum where it has all sorts of signed memorabilia of players who have visited. So signed helmets, cleats, jerseys, gloves, etc., bases, etc., etc. It's a really, really cool museum, and I highly recommend it if you haven't been there.
And that's wonderful that all these museums are out there that you're able to go to. And I'm not sure if all of them are free admission or not. But in my mind, if they ever make you go to one, if you ever go to one of those museums and they start charging for it, that's when you've kind of killed the interest in these Hall of Fames. I'll be honest.
The interesting thing about the Clemente Museum is that for a one-day admission, it's $21, just like his number.
That's worth it, though.
Yeah.
That's the one time I'd ever say it's worth it, just because Roberto Clemente and all those proceeds that just to go into his museum should go to the Clemente Fund that I'm sure he has. because when he went to Nicaragua 53 years ago now, because it'll be 53 years now that since he passed away, and it's rather sad because that plane was not built for flight, and unfortunately he passed away. But I have a picture here on my wall that I've showed David before, but it's his last hit that he ever had when he had the double. Roberto Clemente, as far as I'm concerned, was one of the greatest individual players and human beings, because he went out
Get his number retired.
I agree. I think that should be one of the things, and I'm sure a lot of people are just like, hey, what about Babe Ruth? Babe Ruth
Heck
and
no.
his legacy. Babe Ruth and his legacy are different. Roberto Clemente died doing something, and they now have an award named after him. So I think if they retire the number 21 league-wide, it won't be a problem. But
See?
it's just one of those
The
things. I like that
double A.
because
Mhm.
see, I don't see anything wrong with that, though. I don't see anything wrong with them retiring the number 21 for Roberto Clemente because he blazed as many trails, not as many as Jackie Robinson did, but as a Puerto Rican baseball player like he was incredible for so many years, if not one of the greatest outfielders ever. Okay.
Yeah.
We have 4 games left in the season. I'm not going to do a season in review thing because I know certain teams were good and certain teams were not. We're going to do some World Series predictions here, folks.
Oh God.
Uh-oh.
Who do you
Oh my
guys
God.
have in the World Series? That's going to be where we start. And I'm going to start with Brandon because I know he didn't get as much time. Who do you have playing in the World Series and winning?
Out of the American League, I got the Seattle Mariners, and out of the National League, this is going to make Johnny very happy. I got the Dodgers. I think it's going to be Dodgers and Mariners in the World Series, with the Dodgers winning in 7 games,
Oh,
and they go back to back.
oh my goodness.
I see one advantage of that, and they can do this because this would be something potentially great if that happens. Ichiro and Hideo Nomu. Bring them both out for that series because neither one of them played in a World Series for their respective team, but have them come out and deliver the ceremonial first pitches in each of the home games for their team. But I like that. I think Seattle's got a good chance this year. Pitching's a little bit here or there, but I think the offense should keep them grounded for the most part.
Other
Johnny?
people pick up the slack other
Oh,
than
sorry,
just
go
Cal
ahead.
Raleigh.
I honestly would
hitters
love
have-
for him to get
yeah.
to the World Series. Just one time. Just please. Seattle hasn't had much to cheer about playoff-wise. Give them a World Series at least. Johnny, go ahead.
What Brandon said, basically, although there is a very, very faint chance that the almost 2000 World Series, the Mets and the Mariners, will occur 25 years later. Of course, it all depends on how the Mets will survive these last few days. Also, on a personal note, if by some chance in the last series against the Mariners and the Dodgers, Raleigh hits a home run off Ohtani, give him the MVP. That's all I'm going to say. It might happen. Don't laugh.
Okay, I have a score update for Seattle. Let me see. Oh, it's a homer, but it's not for Mr. Raleigh. It's actually Eugenio Suarez. He's 49. So he's one away from 50. Jesse, your World Series matchup for this season.
I'm predicting the Brewers and the Blue Jays.
Oh, okay. Now that. Oh my God. Well, that's That's two of the old teams that earned Paul Molitor. So, but this would be the Brewers' first World Series appearance since 1982. So that's 30. That's a 43-year wait. So why not? Why not? The Blue Jays haven't been there since '93. That's 32 years for them. So that's a long time wait. Kurt, World Series?
Let's have fun with this. I'm going to say Seattle and Milwaukee. So there's history there because, as you know, the first year of the Milwaukee Brewers, they played in Seattle as the Seattle Pilots and then moved out to Milwaukee because they didn't get the support or the stadium. So, and that will mean that we'll have one new World Series winner this year if that happens, because neither one of those teams has ever won one.
That's right. And there's still animosity for a number of reasons because people seem to forget, and like Kurt said, that the Brewers moved out to go to Milwaukee. But Seattle was pissed at this realization that they didn't have baseball for 8 years until the Mariners came about with the Blue Jays in 1977.
Yep.
Yo, Joseph, I want to kind of expand on what I just said.
It was a very poorly run team. The ownership was underfinanced, so they basically had to find somebody who could support the team, and that was Bud Selig. So, who wanted to get to Milwaukee?
I hate to say this, but Bud Selig didn't do much for nobody.
No,
whether it was for baseball, Milwaukee, or otherwise. So,
I just want to kind of.
I do like the matchup, though. I like this. I like this, and things will get chippy, I'm sure, because the second Selig goes out on the field, they're going to boo him and boo him loud and hard.
Oh, Joseph, I want to expand what I just said earlier.
Yeah, go ahead.
And that brings me to another thing. Had the Mets and the Mariners met in the 2000 World Series, it would have been also called the Apology Series, as the Mets were also born out of two teams leaving town, the Dodgers and the Giants. So
you're right.
There you go. See, there's always this history with these teams, and you don't expect it. I know who Josh wants in the World Series, but we'll see.
Well, it's who do I want in the World Series, or who do I think is going to be in the World Series? Because I have two schools of thought on this. Who I would like in the World Series is my home. Who I would like to see in the World Series is my home team and the Mariners. But in reality, after reality is done hitting you in the face, I think it's going to be like what Kurt said. It's the Brewers and the Mariners.
I don't disagree with these. A majority of these matchups involve Seattle, and I'm saying this because Seattle has the most to gain. Their pitching has to be top tier for the playoffs. Because just watching today, specifically today, the offenses have been terrible heading into the playoffs. And that's the biggest thing is pitching seems to be king for right now. And that's why I'm not surprised that no one said Cleveland or Detroit, because they've both been fighting at each other's throats the last 3 weeks. So I do have Seattle going in. I do have Seattle as well. I don't have Milwaukee moving on, though. Surprise, surprise. I go different direction. But I do have the Mets as my team. Seattle and the Mets, because the Mets deserve better than they did losing to the Giants and then they lost to the Royals in 2015. They deserve better than that because Matt Harvey, Zach Wheeler, Jacob deGrom, Noah Syndergaard, they had one of the greatest short arm rotations in history. But now the only one who's still good, the only two who are still good are deGrom and Wheeler. Harvey retired. He's now at Old Timers Day. And Harvey retired. Syndergaard's he was with the White Sox in their AAA system this season, in case anybody didn't know that. The AAA system of the White Sox released him because how bad he's fallen. So, David, I know who you're wanting in the World Series. Who do you think is going to be in the World Series. I know you want Boston there.
Yeah, but to me, if Roman Anthony was part
You're
of
on
this
mute.
team, huh? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. If Roman Anthony was part of this team, we would have had, me picking them, predicted them to be in the World Series or at least going into the ALCS. But to me, I'm going with Cleveland and Philly.
Okay. Okay. I was waiting for the wild card, but okay. Cleveland and Philadelphia. All right. I like Philadelphia being the powerhouse in this. To me, Cleveland is the underdog here. And to be honest, if it's not Seattle or Cleveland winning their first World Series, Cleveland has the longest World Series drought at 67. No. Yes. 67 years? I think.
67,
Yeah, no, it's going to be 70
years since the
Yeah,
last
it's
World
gonna be-
Series win.
Yeah, there we go. So still, it's getting closer to 80 at this point. Cleveland, please. The Cavaliers won a championship. Cleveland Browns ain't going to do nothing. Please, for the love of God, Cleveland, give your team something to celebrate. Or even Seattle. Seattle needs something to celebrate. Yeah, they had a Super Bowl a couple years ago, but that's football. It's the biggest what have you done for me sport in history. When you don't have the jewelry, just ask Cub fans.
How did I know that was coming? But yeah, I totally agree.
I mean, honestly, though, if the Cubs still had not won a World Series, would a lot of their fans be as happy as Josh is?
Well, I will say they pack Wrigley Field every year, but I think that's more for the ambiance.
Hey, you could be a Rockies fan and be 43 and 115 right now. And may I add, with the new version of the lottery that they instituted from the NBA, 115 lost team is not getting the frickin' first round pick. Wake me up when good old Rob Manfred does a good thing for baseball, okay?
Can I step in and say one more thing?
Yeah, good old Rob. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, LCS
Yeah, I know.
prediction-
This is the last show. This is the last show. I'm getting it out. Why?
I gotta throw in my LCS prediction very quickly, you guys.
Jesse?
Oh my God! Why you gotta be mean to the poor guy? His team's that close to the playoffs, and you make him a Rockies fan? You're evil, David. That's not right. Of all the things you can make him, at least you didn't. At least you made him a Rockies fan. They still sell out despite being so bad, which I never understood. How it's September, the Broncos
They have
are
a good
playing right
stadium
now.
as well, I've heard.
I don't know. But I do appreciate you guys being on here. And there is one last thing I'd like to do. I'd like to thank a special somebody in here who will not be returning next season. And I appreciate his patience. I know his schedule wasn't always the most open. He tried his best. Mr. Brandon DeJesus, thank you.
So long.
Hey guys, I appreciate being on here, talking baseball with you guys. I hope you all enjoy the postseason and the off season ahead. It's going to be great. These last couple of days of the regular season have already been really freaking exciting to watch, and I just look forward to seeing what happens. Who gets to the World Series? Who is the breakout unsung hero of these playoffs? And it's going to be a bloodbath in both leagues, and I'm excited to watch them. We'll watch everything. And I love being with you guys, and I appreciate you all.
And that's why we're here week after week as much as we can be. So we love baseball as much as everyone else, but we're here for the record breakers, the winners, the losers, the underdogs, the heavyweight bouts. We are here for them. Unfortunately, Colorado is not here for us.
Guys.
Oh, Johnny, go ahead.
All right, I'll throw in my LCS predictions very quickly. Seattle versus Toronto and LA versus who the heck knows.
That is, honestly, you don't know who's going to. That's not a bad prediction for LA because you never know. LA is always going to face somebody different. But to be honest, I think the Mets make it past the wild card round.
So
I think the Mets have a chance. Not because of their offense, but because in general, I think they're better than the Padres.
My dream Final
Because-
Four.
Well, it's specifically that the Padres have shown that they're good enough, but they can't get over the hump. They made it to the last round. They made it right before the World Series multiple times. It's just that if Tony Gwynn couldn't push you over the hump, what can? You're paying 4 guys $300 million. Hey, at least Soto's doing something for the Mets right now. Machado has been pretty bad. Tatis has been decent. I know James Shields was worth the price of admission alone for Tatis Jr., but still, the Padres will not beat the Mets, considering the Mets have much more than just money on their side. At least the Mets went and got a guy. Yes, they paid him $700+ million, but at least he's good. Hey, there's nothing wrong with me wearing a Cubs hat, okay? I used to wear a Cubs jersey, okay? I like the Cubs.
So do I. I love the
The
Cubs.
Cubs are
They're
not a
like-
bad team.
They're
Now, if I-
great.
Now,
Mets
here's
did win
something that'll
today,
cause-
so we'll see how close it gets.
Did it?
So I will tell you something,
cause
Kurt Joseph.
trouble.
What was the
Just
final score on
because
that, Kurt?
trouble.
I didn't see it.
yes,
It was 8-5. They held on. So
just to
right
cause
now,
trouble, yes, I do. Yes, I do
you're
have a
going into the
Giants
final
jersey.
weekend. The Mets are up on the Reds by 1 and the Diamondbacks by 2. It's going to take a lot for the Diamondbacks to win it because they got to get past 2 teams in 3 games.
Well, our next series is St. Louis. We got to win all 3 of those, in my opinion.
Yeah, because you have to have momentum going into the playoffs.
Well, here's the thing. San Diego is also right on the Cubs' heels, so they want to hold on to a home field advantage in the first round, which is huge.
Of course they do.
I don't think San Diego played today.
They didn't. They were off today.
No,
So they got the off day. But currently, the last 2 games right now, both of them are irrelevant except for Raleigh trying to pile on stats. But it was wonderful having you guys on this season. We might be back next year. We will see what's going to happen. Because come spring, I don't know what I'll be doing, but we will let you know, hopefully. And best of luck to your teams. You guys have a wonderful rest of the season. And hopefully enjoy the playoffs. If your team doesn't
Definitely.
make it, still
Yeah.
watch the games.
Yes,
To be
you do.
honest, this postseason, it feels a little different. Feels like there's a little magic to it. That's all. Because
Mhm.
I'm not a Mariner fan, but it's a special time there. First time they've had a division title in 25 years. It's going to be special. The atmosphere is going to be fantastic. And if they don't bring back guys like Ichiro and like Felix Hernandez for the playoffs to help hype up the crowd, they're sorely missing something.
Edgar Martinez, Griffey.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, Ken Griffey Jr. That's a name that I always loved in baseball.
Well, yeah. But Griffey, do us all a favor. Make sure you go on a diet first so you're not busting through your uniform again. I'm sorry, but when he was in Seattle at the end of his career, he was not healthy. That man looked like Dante Bichette when he was with Boston at the end of his career. That's a little joke for David there. But you guys have a wonderful season. We'll hopefully be back for spring training in March. But thank you all for the time. As always, God bless. Thank you guys very much.
Bye for now.
Take care, guys.
Bye.